Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's great to have you here today. It's Monday. What day is it? I don't even know. It's Monday the 17th. We had just such an amazing weekend. Dale and I took the grandkids and, well, in fact, we took the whole family, my son, my daughter, grandkids, and we all went to the mountains camping. It was just absolutely beautiful. The weather was perfect. We had one little rain shower overnight. Uh, it's kind of odd because it said we weren't getting any rain, but we had a little shower. It wasn't enough to even wet the ground, but it was a wonderful weekend, and I'm excited that we're here today and to be with you and to share these last two chapters in John Maxwell's book, The 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. It's been a great journey for me, and you've all heard me say, the teacher always becomes the student, and I have learned so much more by going through this book. Every time I learn something new, when I read it and when I prepare to teach a class, something new comes into my mind and helps me as I continue my journey to grow and to get better at what I do. And that sort of leads us to what we're going to be talking about today. Today, we're talking about the law of expansion and the law of not contribution, but a law of capacity. And so it is contribution. I don't know why I say capacity. It's the law of contribution, but the law of expansion talks about capacity, and we're going to share that today. So let us go ahead and get started. I hope you have your handouts. I'm going to try to follow as closely to that as I can. If I get away from it, you can always ask me questions through the chat line about information that you may have. I'm going to cut my video off and hide that so that it doesn't distract you or me, and we can go from there. But I think everybody knows who I am by now. I'm a certified John Maxwell coach, trainer, and speaker, member of Toastmasters, member of Business Networking International, Stephen Minister, retired from the Air National Guard in the United States Air Force, where I served as a recruiter and career counselor, served with the state of South Carolina as a human resources director. And most importantly, is I'm a partner with my wife and daughter as a member of the Shackley team. We're key coordinators, and we're every day learning and growing and helping others in that capacity. It's amazing business. But most importantly, and you heard me talk about my family just a minute ago, I'm a husband, a father, and a grandfather. And this weekend, I was allowed to participate in all three of those capacities and had a great time with the family. We're going to be sharing from the book, John Maxwell's 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. And I hope, as you've heard me say every week, I hope you're doing some journaling, and I hope you have the Jumpstart Your Growth, John Maxwell's companion book to the 15 Laws of Growth. You've heard me say that I believe that journaling is so important that it helps us as we learn new information, as we have opportunities that are those aha moments where we learn something, where we can write that down so that we can reflect on it in our future, as we talked about in the law of reflection from this great book from John Maxwell. Again, our goals are to help us realize our potential, to believe in ourselves, and to increase our level of success, and to become more intentional in our lives and in our businesses. In the law of expansion, today we're going to be talking about how growth always increases our capacity. Just like in the very beginning of the book, we talked about personal growth and increasing our capacity and becoming more of who we are and what we are through growing to our potential. And of course, none of us know what our actual potential is until we start expanding and growing in our lives. And as we think about growth and as we think about increasing our capacity, remember that there is no finish line. We don't know where we can end up. We can be much more than we are today, and we can continue to grow. Most people believe that we typically only use about 10% of our potential. So, how do we tap into that unused 90% of our potential or our capacity? How do we increase our thinking capacity? Well, in the book, John gives us some ideas of what we can do. And he says this, he says, you just don't tap out on personal growth. And in one of the books that he talks about that he's read, he talks about that potential, the potential that exists within each of us is limitless and largely untapped. When you think of limits, when we think of putting limits on ourselves, we then create those limits because we're not thinking about how we can grow and how we can go to the next level. So he gives us some ideas to help us to start thinking in ways to grow our capacity. I've heard that there's a gap between where we are and success, and it's simply that the gap is knowing and doing. We know what to do, but we don't actually do it. And when we start doing, then we start growing our capacity. So let's talk about those things that John shares to help us increase our thinking capacity. And the first thing he says to us is to think, we got to find the edges, find out where we are and grow from there. So increasing your thinking capacity. And we do that by stop thinking more work and start thinking what works. So what is it that you doing works? What are you getting your best results from? Capacity is not always about more. Sometimes it's about better. What is it that you do best? We need to find those things. We need to tap into those things that we're doing best and grow from there. So we can ask ourselves some questions as to what's working for us. Ask yourself this: what am I required to do? What is it that gives me my best return? What gives me the greatest reward? There's nothing that I can think of in my entire life outside of my family that gives me more reward than helping other people. And we're going to talk about that in a few minutes, but that's what one of the rewards that I get by teaching and training is that I am rewarded by seeing those people in my classes when the light comes on, when they have that aha moment about whatever it is that they're thinking about. Stop thinking, can I? And start thinking, how can I? And I'm not going to go into Dale's story again, but you remember I said that she asked me a couple of questions about where can I do, what can I do, and where can I go? And she said that she's changed her thinking from can I to how can I? And when she shifted that thinking, it made all the difference in her capacity to grow and to get to where she needed to go. One of the things that is important about thinking here is that the self-limiting statements that we tell ourselves, and that they always work. They always work. So ask this question: what would you attempt if you knew you could not fail? Discuss that truth about self-limiting beliefs and self-limiting statements, the things that we tell ourselves. Because self-limiting statements, like I said, always work. They never fail. If you say you can't, then you have already defeated yourself by saying that. Don't confuse the need to be correct with failure. Don't get confused there because you think you have to be right. And when you're not right, that's failure. That's just showing you that there's a different way to do things. Stop thinking, can I? And start thinking, how can I? The next thing he tells us to do is stop thinking one door and start thinking many doors. There are many options that we can take. Don't get tied up or locked into one thing. There are always other options. There's more than one way to do something successfully. But I strongly encourage you to find a process to follow and adjust it along the way. Success is a result of continued action filled with continual adjustments. So just because you get to one door and you go through it and you think you're there, that might just be the first door. There may be many other doors that you have to go through before you get to that point of success that you're looking for. Movement with intentionality is what creates the possibilities. We need to allow the failures and the setbacks that we have along the way to be learning lessons for us. Knowing the future is difficult, controlling the future is impossible. But knowing today is essential, and controlling today is absolutely the most important thing we can do, because we don't know what the past has nothing to do with it, and we can't tell what the future is going to be. So we have to deal with today. So we increase our capacity through action. And we increase our action by saying the things that we've heard many times before. Stop doing what is expected of you and start doing more than is expected. Leave your comfort zone. You know, it's just amazes me that how easy it is to get comfortable with our daily routines and the things that make us comfortable, the things that we know we can do. I read a quote that said this the other day. It says that if your goals don't challenge you, then they are the status quo. So what are your goals? What are you doing that's going to take you out of your comfort zone? And it all begins by changing our thinking. It all begins by thinking that we have the potential to do more. We have to get out of our comfort zone. Making mistakes and doing things is essentially telling us that we are actually doing something. It saddens me to know that we live in a society today where we give people trophies for just showing up. They don't have to do anything but be there. For us, for what we do in Shackley, you can't just show up and be successful. You got to take some action. You got to move forward. You got to get out of that comfort zone, and you got to make a few mistakes along the way. And if you're not making mistakes, then that's a good indication that you're not doing anything. But if you are making mistakes, then that means you are actually doing something. Stop doing just enough. Stop doing important things occasionally and start doing them daily. Do those important things every day. As Covey said, first things first. You've got to know what to do first. We have processes in place that help us with that. Why do we not follow them? Why do we want to recreate the wheel? Why do we want to do things that we don't know are going to be successful when we have people who have followed processes and become wildly successful at them just by following the things that they need to do daily, doing those important things every day. And remember, do the important things all the time. Success is determined by your daily plans. We want to reach our maximum capacity. It's unlimited. And if we start by doing the things that we know we have to do, then we can reach it. We can reach our maximum capacity, or we can settle for our minimum capacity. It's our choice. But if we're going to reach out and grow, if we're going to become what we're designed to be, if we're going to reach our maximum capacity, then we have to take the steps to get us there. So what is your maximum capacity? How do you expand your capacity? How do you expand your impact? You know, capacity is not measured by how much you hold. Capacity is a measure of how much you can give. Your impact is directly impacted by your capacity. There's nothing in your past that must determine your future. There's nothing in your past that must determine your future. You can start today by taking those small daily steps to grow in the ways that we know we need to grow, starting with ourselves, growing inside and becoming more every day. Your capacity must continue to grow. What is your impact now? How are you impacting others? How is you impacting your business? Where is your impact right now? What would you like your impact to be? You know, in your handouts at the back of the last page, you're going to see some things, how to apply the law of expansion. And I always look at the very first thing that's on there. It says, have you made the transition from I can't or can I to how can I? So as you think about growing your capacity, think about where your thinking is. Are you thinking, can I? Or are you thinking, how can I? Because when you start thinking, how can I, then your mind begins to work and creativity begins to take place and actions follow. Think about your own behavioral patterns. What is working and what do you need to adjust? Use the criteria of required return reward to help you make the needed adjustments. When you do that, then you start seeing and knowing what your capacity is. And that takes us to the next law. Because as you grow your capacity, as you become more, as you begin to overflow with the information that you've learned over time, you then begin to share that with others. The law of contribution says growing yourself enables you to grow others. To me, this is the most important part about growing ourselves. Others need to grow too, and we need to help them. If you have members on your team, it's your responsibility, it's our responsibility to help them grow. But before they can grow, and before we can add value to others, we have to grow ourselves. We cannot give what we do not have. We cannot teach what we do not know. So how do we become better contributors? We become better through personal growth and personal development. And we build ourselves so that we can build others and help them grow. You know, Ben Franklin said this in his in one of his writings, and he asked these questions: what good shall I do today? And there's nothing more important in our day than adding value to someone else. So at the beginning of each day, what good shall I do today? What is it that I am going to do today that is adding value to those that I am around? Then the next question you ask yourself at the end of the day, what good have I done today? I love the quote that says this, that we should be a river and not a reservoir. We should be flowing all the time. The information that we have within us should be going out, and we should be giving it away. We should not be holding it inside of ourselves, because when you keep it inside, it's not helping anybody but you. And if you're not adding value to others, then you're taking that value away from them. Be the river, not the reservoir. There's some excellent questions for identifying someone who can encourage us to be our best. And I'm not going to read each of those to you. You're capable of doing that. But the one that really sticks out to me, there's actually two. And those two are who challenges you to think, and who cheers on your dreams. Who is it that makes you think, to go inside yourself, to find where you need to grow and how you can help others grow, challenging you to think about those things? And who is your cheerleader? Who is it that helps you focus on your dreams and lifts you up? If you don't have a mentor or a coach that's doing that, I would strongly recommend that you find someone that does that. It's been a real godsend for me to have people in my life who challenge me to think and who test my limits in a positive way. I've got a few that test my limits in the other ways, but I try to avoid them. But I have those also who are my cheerleaders and who help me as I dream dreams and want to grow in my dreams. So I'd ask you to find those people in your life so that you too can move forward and grow. And then I would ask you to think about this. Give to grow and grow to give. Making the right contribution choices. And here's a few of them that I think are important. Number one is always be grateful. Live in an abundance attitude. Put people first. There's nothing more important in our business. There's nothing more important in our lives than other people. We have to be the ones who are out reaching out to others to try to lift them up, to be encouragers, to be motivators, to help people see their dreams, find their dreams, and grow their dreams. If you're a leader, either people will be first or you won't be the leader very long. Put people first. Don't let stuff own you. Stuff own you. I have fallen into that trap many times, but I try to avoid it. There's only two reasons to have money, and that's to have options and to serve others. If your life's work is to have a life's work, then you're working in the wrong thing, working on the wrong thing. Don't worry about stuff. Worry about people. Don't let people own you either. Owe no man anything, and let not others owe you. You know, that's another discussion for another time, but we could go into a great deal of things about that. But don't allow other people to own you. Now, as I said, there's so much we could talk about that from a servant standpoint, from a financial standpoint, from owing and owning and all of the things that go along with that. But I'm not going to spend time on that today. Perhaps another day we could talk about it. But always, even in shackling, be the servant. Define success as sowing, not reaping. Wow, this one is a Jim Rohn special here. And if you've ever listened to anything that he's done, you've probably heard him do the sower of the seeds, which is an amazingly great story in how he tells it. But it's so important that we understand that we are the sowers. The only way we're going to see the harvest of our labors is to go and sow the right seeds. And the right seeds are in our hands today with our business. And we all know not just the products we have, but the philosophy of our business, the philosophy that Dr. Shackley put before this company so many years ago. And it is even in the DNA of Roger Barnett today, that we are here to help other people. And we have to remember those who dug the well before us, that we drink from wells that we did not dig, that we reap from things that we did not sow, that there are people that went before us who tilled the ground, who plowed the ground, who planted the seeds. And today we have to know that we pick up that responsibility in our lives and in our businesses to continue to grow by sowing the seeds that we have been given. And that's one of the things that Jim Rohn says, is that you have to have good seeds. Shackley is the good seeds that we have. The material that John Maxwell has provided me to teach is part of the good seed. And we continue to grow that. And we need to commit to leave this world in a better place than we found it. And if we do what we're supposed to do from the sowing of these good seeds, then we will positively impact this world, one person at a time. Keep growing to keep giving. People who stop growing will stop giving. People who stop growing will lose their passion. And the greatest gift that you and I can give someone is our own personal development. We share what we have with others so that they can grow as we have grown. And it's about expanding our own capacity so that we can help others grow beyond where we are. As you think about expanding your own growth so that you can give back to others, ask yourself, what is your underlying desire in life? Are your best efforts focused on making you feel good or making someone else successful? Are you a go-getter? Or are you a go-giver? Wow. It's hard to believe that we have come to the end of this study. And as we end, I would encourage you to find and engage in a coaching relationship, whether you're being coached or whether you are coaching your own team. If you want to see exponential growth in your organization, find a way to help them through your growth, through your expansion, through your contributions, help them find their own growth journey, and they too will reach their capacity. As I close, I would close with this remark. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And the way you can show them is by giving to them what you have. Thank you for being a part of this study, and I will host a call or a webinar next week. It will be a short version. If you would like to join, I'm going to do about a 30-minute recap of what we've discussed this week or this series. And we'll take any questions or any thoughts as to how you would potentially use this in your business and growing your business. Again, it's Jim Hatchell signing off, and I wish you much success and much growth in your personal life as well as in your business.